You feel like garbage when your mind drifts again, beaten by a damn notification, robbed of that razor-sharp edge you keep telling yourself you'll get back. You're not lazy, you're fractured. You've trained your brain to be addicted to novelty, to need a new hit every few seconds, and it's killing your ability to lock in on anything that actually matters. That's not just my opinion, that's neuroscience. The average human attention span has collapsed from about 2.5 minutes in the early 2000s to under 50 seconds today. 50 seconds. That's not enough time to even pour a decent cup of coffee before your focus bails on you. And it's not because you're weak. It's because the entire world is engineered to hijack your dopamine system and keep you scrolling, swiping, chasing. Every ping from your phone lights up your brain like a slot machine win. And your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for decision-making and deep work, gets shoved into the back seat, while the reward system drives you straight into distraction. You've been told multitasking is a skill, but the research is brutal. Constant task switching can drop your IQ temporarily by up to 15 points. That's the equivalent of trying to work drunk. You think you're grinding, but you're really bleeding cognitive horsepower. And here's the part that should piss you off. You've been letting it happen. You've been playing defense, hoping you can somehow focus harder while you're standing in a hurricane of noise. That's like trying to light a candle in a wind tunnel. If you want the truth, the world isn't going to get quieter for you. You're going to have to get sharper in spite of it. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. How to rebuild focus like a muscle until it becomes unbreakable. Let me lay this out raw. Your attention span has been butchered. 2 decades ago, you could hold a single thought for over 2 minutes without breaking. Now, you're lucky to make it 47 seconds before your brain goes hunting for the next hit. And don't kid yourself, that drop didn't just happen. You've been conditioned into it, trained like a lab rat in a casino. Every scroll, every ping, every shiny little red badge on your phone has been engineered by behavioral scientists to hijack your brain's dopamine loop. Companies aren't selling you products anymore. They're selling your attention to the highest bidder, and you're giving it away for free. The truth is, your brain isn't bad at focus. It's bad at ignoring. Every time you split your attention checking your phone mid-task, hopping between tabs, you trigger what researchers call a switching cost. It's not a second or two, it's minutes of lost cognitive momentum. Think of it like sprinting full speed, slamming on the brakes, and then trying to hit top gear again. That stop-start kills your stamina. Multiply that by dozens, maybe hundreds of micro-interruptions a day, and it's no wonder you feel mentally fried by 2 p.m. And the cost isn't just productivity, it's depth. You stop doing work that requires thinking 3 moves ahead. You stop solving hard problems because your brain is too busy skimming the surface of everything. That's how average men stay average forever. They never stay in one lane long enough to master anything. If you're serious about sharpening your mind, you need to recognize that focus isn't about working harder. It's about protecting your mental bandwidth like it's gold, because it is. And here's the good news. You can rebuild it. You can train it like a muscle. And once you understand how neuroplasticity works, you'll never look at focus the same way again. Here's the redemption you didn't think was coming. Focus is not some mystical gift handed to the chosen few. It's a skill, and like any skill, it can be built, sharpened, and hardened until it becomes second nature. This isn't motivational fluff, it's biology. Your brain has something called neuroplasticity, the ability to physically rewire itself based on how you use it. Every time you resist the urge to grab your phone, every time you pull your mind back to the task at hand, you're not just being disciplined, you're literally changing the structure of your brain. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that acts like the CEO, grows stronger when you train it to focus. Neural pathways thicken, synapses fire faster, and distractions lose their grip. Think about that. Your brain is like a muscle, and right now, most people's focus muscle is atrophied from years of mental junk food. But when you train it, you start to notice things the average person can't. You can work on a project for hours without feeling like you're drowning. You can read a book and remember every detail because your mind isn't wandering off to check the time or scroll TikTok. And here's the part that separates the elite from the mediocre. This training compounds. Just like strength training, your first reps will feel like hell. Your mind will itch for distraction. But stick with it, and you'll stack mental endurance week after week, until staying locked in becomes your default. Most men never get there because they mistake focus for willpower. It's not about gritting your teeth. It's about building an unshakable system inside your own skull. And once you've got that, you'll see the ugly truth about why most people never reach their potential. They keep sabotaging their own brain in ways they don't even notice. But let's get brutally honest. Every time you tell yourself you're multitasking, you're not showing off your efficiency, you're showing off your weakness. Your brain isn't built to run two high-level tasks at once. What it's really doing is switching back and forth at high speed, and every switch comes with a cost. Researchers call it context switching, and it's been shown to burn up to 40% of your productive time. That means if you work an 8-hour day, you're handing away more than 3 hours to nothing but mental friction. And it gets worse. Stanford researchers found that chronic multitaskers actually become worse at filtering out irrelevant information. You're training your brain to stay distracted. You're basically pouring sugar in your own gas tank and wondering why the engine's stalling. And you've probably convinced yourself it's just the way things are, that everyone works like this now. But everyone is broke, stressed, and unfocused. You don't want to be everyone. You want to be the outlier. The one who can sit down, shut the world out, and go deep for hours while everyone else is drowning in noise. Look at elite performers, athletes, investors, writers. They don't let a text or a notification cut their attention in half. They work in blocks, undisturbed, because they know the real breakthroughs happen when you stay locked in long enough to get past the surface level. The average man never experiences that zone. He stays in shallow water his whole life, splashing around, calling it effort. You want depth? You want results that actually move the needle? Then stop worshipping the dopamine hit of bouncing between meaningless tasks. Lock in, because once you feel the difference between fragmented effort and pure uninterrupted focus, you'll never settle for the cheap high again. And that's when you start building rhythm, the system that makes this focus sustainable day after day. What works is rhythm. And I'm not talking about some fluffy productivity hack you read in a blog once. I'm talking about the operating system your brain actually runs on. Your mind works in cycles, not marathons. You've got ultradian rhythms, 90-minute windows where your brain can push at its peak before it starts dipping. Ignore that, and your focus crashes, your energy tanks, and you start reaching for coffee, sugar, or your phone just to stay awake. This is why the Pomodoro method works. Short, intense bursts of work followed by a break to let your brain reset. Or take the Take 5 method. Every 50 to 60 minutes, step away from all screens for 5 to 10 minutes. That's not wasted time. That's recharging your prefrontal cortex so you can hit the next round at full power. And here's where it gets tactical. Pair these work blocks with micro wins. Break your goals into small winnable checkpoints so you're triggering dopamine from progress, not from scrolling Instagram. That's a double win. You're rewiring your brain to associate reward with actual achievement, and you're building momentum like a snowball down a hill. This is how elite performers keep going for hours without mentally burning out. They stack wins, reset, and hit again. The average man just grinds until he's mentally smoked, then wonders why his work quality falls off a cliff. You want to be elite. Respect the cycle. Protect the break. Use it to breathe, stretch, move. Don't just smash your head against a wall and call it hustle. Focus is a renewable resource if you treat it like one, but a depleting one if you abuse it. And once you've got the rhythm dialed in, that's when you can start stacking even bigger advantages, feeding your brain exactly what it needs to go to war every single day. If you're still here, it means you actually give a damn about sharpening your mind, not just feeling inspired for 5 minutes and slipping back into the noise. So do something about it. Hit subscribe right now and lock yourself into an environment where this level of clarity, strategy, and truth is the standard. Because the men who win in life aren't the ones who dabble, they're the ones who commit. You either align yourself with people who demand more from you, or you get dragged back down by people who expect nothing. Choose the first path. Hit the button. Stay in the fight. Now it's time to arm yourself with the heavy artillery, because rhythm without the right weapons is just pacing in circles. First, meditation. And before you roll your eyes, understand this isn't about candles and incense. It's about rewiring your brain for control. Studies from Harvard show that even 8 minutes a day thickens the prefrontal cortex, the very control center for focus. You're literally building mental muscle that pulls you back when your mind drifts. Second, move your body. Exercise isn't just for your chest and biceps. It floods your brain with dopamine, norepinephrine, and brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a chemical that grows new neurons. That's why a 10-minute walk can clear brain fog faster than another cup of coffee. Third, leverage nature. Stanford researchers found that spending just 20 minutes in a natural environment boosts working memory and lowers stress. You don't need to hike a mountain. Step outside, breathe, let your brain recalibrate. Fourth, fuel it right. Junk food gives you junk thoughts. Your brain is 60% fat, so feed it with omega-3s, lean proteins, whole foods. Hydrate, because even mild dehydration can tank cognitive performance by 20%. Finally, build your fortress. Your environment is either your training ground or your executioner. If your desk is chaos and your phone is chirping every 5 minutes, you've already lost. Silence notifications, clean your space, and set it up so that when you sit down, you're in a cockpit, not a circus. These aren't suggestions. They're non-negotiables if you want to operate like a professional, not an amateur. And when you put them all in play, meditation, movement, nature, nutrition, environment, you're stacking advantages so high that the average man can't keep up even if he wants to. But there's one more move that will make your focus bulletproof, and it's the exact opposite of what you've been told your whole life. Here's the twist nobody told you. Boredom isn't the enemy, it's the training ground. You've been conditioned to fear it, to fill every empty second with noise, scrolling, and stimulation. But the science says otherwise. When you allow your mind to wander, you activate something called the default mode network, a network of brain regions that lights up when you're not focused on the outside world. This is where your brain starts connecting dots, spotting patterns, and generating creative breakthroughs you'd never see while hammering away at a screen. Studies from the University of British Columbia found that people who let their minds drift scored higher on problem-solving tasks immediately afterward. Think about that. By doing nothing, you're priming yourself to do better. Elite performers know this. Riders go for long walks without headphones. CEOs stare out the window on flights instead of grinding through their inbox. They understand that space isn't wasted, it's fuel. And the more you avoid boredom, the more you train your brain to panic when things slow down. That's why most men can't even sit in silence for 5 minutes without reaching for their phone. They've built zero tolerance for stillness. But if you can embrace boredom, if you can sit in it and let your mind breathe, you unlock a level of focus and creativity the dopamine-chasing masses will never touch. This is the difference between reacting to life and designing it. Because when you come back from that mental space, you're sharper, faster, more precise. It's the mental equivalent of a sniper slowing their breathing before the shot. And once you master that skill, there's one final truth about focus that will flip everything you've been taught on its head. And it's the real reason the few become unstoppable, while the rest burn out. So here's the unfiltered truth. Your brain isn't your enemy, it's your most powerful ally. But only if you stop treating it like a disposable tool. You've been burning it out like a rookie driver redlining an engine that was never maintained. Focus isn't about grinding until you collapse. It's about mastering the flow, knowing when to push, when to pull back, and when to let the system reset. Think of elite athletes. They don't train at max effort every single day. They cycle intensity, they rest, they recover, because they know performance isn't built in the grind, it's built in the balance between the grind and the pause. Neuroscience backs this up. Your brain consolidates learning and builds stronger neural pathways during rest, not during constant strain. That means the man who understands recovery as part of his focus strategy will crush the man who only knows how to push. And here's the paradox. Letting go at the right moment is what allows you to go harder when it counts. The most dangerous men are the ones who know how to operate at peak, then step back without losing momentum. They never burn out because they're not playing a one-day game. They're building a decades-long war plan. This is why the average guy flames out after a month of hustle. He's trying to sprint a marathon. You want lasting focus? You build it into your lifestyle, not just your workday. You eat for it, sleep for it, train for it, recover for it. You stop treating it like a switch you flip on and start treating it like a fire you tend, steady, controlled, and always ready to roar when needed. And once you grasp that, you're ready for the bonus truth, the one shift that will turn everything you've learned here into a weapon you can carry for life. Here's the paradox that flips everything you thought you knew about focus on its head. Your biggest gains won't come from cranking harder. They'll come from letting go at the right moments. You've been sold this fantasy that focus is about chaining yourself to the desk, clenching your teeth, and muscling through until your eyes blur. That's why most men burn out. They confuse obsession with mastery. Neuroscience is clear. Your brain isn't a machine, it's an ecosystem. Push it without relief, and you trigger stress hormones like cortisol that actually shrink the hippocampus, the part of your brain responsible for memory and learning. You don't get sharper under constant strain, you get duller. The real elite understand that focus is a cycle. Deep work, strategic disengagement, intentional boredom, physical reset. They know that stepping away at the right time is not quitting, it's reloading. Look at grandmasters in chess. They don't sit at the board for 12 hours straight. They take measured breaks to recalibrate their mind so they can return with clarity, not fatigue. Pilots train in simulator sessions that last hours, not days, because they know precision fades past a certain point. The lesson? Focus is not about chaining yourself to the grind. It's about respecting the rhythm that keeps your brain firing at peak capacity over the long haul. That's the difference between the man who burns bright and dies out fast, and the man who burns steady and leaves everyone else behind. So here's your bonus truth. You don't win the focus game by pushing until you break. You win it by mastering the dance between intensity and release. You know when to strike, and you know when to step back. That's not weakness. That's the discipline of someone who plays to win for decades, not just days. And that discipline is rare, which is why so few ever own it. Here's the ruthlessly clear takeaway. Focus is not a talent you're born with. It's a weapon you forge. And right now, yours is either sharp enough to cut through steel or so dull it couldn't slice through butter. The difference comes down to rhythm, habits, and respect for the way your brain is built to operate. You've heard the science. Neuroplasticity means your brain rewires itself based on what you feed it, and most men are feeding theirs garbage. You've heard the damage. Context switching can steal nearly half your productive time, and yet most men brag about multitasking like it's a badge of honor. You've heard the path forward. Protect your bandwidth, work in cycles, stack micro wins, train your attention like a muscle, and give your mind space to breathe so it can connect the dots others will never see. This isn't about hacks or quick fixes. It's about building a system that turns focus into your default state, not a rare burst of discipline you stumble into once in a while. If you apply this, you'll stop living like the rest of the world, reactive, distracted, bleeding hours on things that don't matter, and start operating like the man who gets things done while everyone else is still spinning their wheels. Focus is war, and the battlefield is in your head. Most people walk into that fight unarmed, but you've now got the blueprint, the science, and the strategy. The only thing left is execution. Once you experience the power of deep, sustained focus, once you see what it feels like to actually control where your attention goes, you'll never be able to tolerate living scattered again. That's when you stop surviving the day and start dominating it. That's when everything changes.